Good afternoon, Don Maxwell from Live IT Academy, and we're continuing our Excel lesson, and today's topic is creating a chart. Of course, you know that Excel is known for making charts, right? One of its advantages is that being able to convert your data, your worksheet data, into a chart. Of course, a chart is visual and it's easier to understand and use. So whenever you get a chance to use a chart with your data, I would encourage you to do so, okay? So the file we're currently using is that regional sales for the first quarter, right? And the first thing when you're creating a chart is you have to understand your data. What portion or what part of that data do you want to chart? So generally speaking, the totals are not part of your chart, right? So if I'm going to chart a quarter, I'm going to be looking for data for that quarter, January, February, and March. But in addition to that, I must pick the labels. So I'm going to pick the header labels, the column, and the row labels because that's part of my chart. So for example, January, February, March, that's my header label, and East, West, North, South is also my label in the row order, right? So I'm going to pick the A5 through the D9 cell. So go ahead and select that data and notice that it does not include the total sales. Okay, now this is very easy to understand, this step. You go to Insert Charts, and you will note that in the chart category there are many different types of charts, right? You can also allow a recommendation by Excel. So Excel in that case will recommend what type of chart that best suits your data. But if you do know the type of chart that you want to select, you can pick from a variety of charts. This time we're going to pick a line chart. So I'm going to go in and pick a line chart. So right here, insert line or area chart. I'm going to pick that type, and you'll see that there is a variety of line charts, the 2D chart, the 3D, 2D area chart, and 3D area chart, right? So I'm simply going to pick a line chart, a stack line chart, right? And that's just going to show me the data in terms of how it either increase or decrease over the time. Of course, we have January to March, that's time, right? So if we started out high and go low, or start low and go high, that part of the chart types that we have, we can select different charts to tell us that, right? Stacked line, and then we have a line with markers, then we have just 100% stack line. So these icons pretty much tell you or show you what your chart's going to look like. For example, if I was picking a 3D line chart, that's what it would look like, right? So I get a pretty good view of what my line or what my chart's going to look like before I select it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and select a line with marker, right? And again, with your screen tip, it gives you a screen tip on what the chart type does and what it looks like. So use this chart type to show trends over time. Years, months, of course we have months, days, and so on, right? So we can actually use it to order categories that's important, a few days, a few data points, and so on. Okay, so let's pick that one. Okay, so right away my chart has been formed, and we have the option of going in and picking a chart style, right? So here on my ribbon, I have a chart tool that appears because I have selected my chart. See the bubble here that allows me to extend or collapse my chart and to stretch my chart, right? The sizing handles. These are called your sizing handles. So I can resize the chart according to the sizing handles. So I can do it diagonal, vertical, or horizontal, right? Sizing. I'd say be careful when you're sizing it either horizontal or vertical because of the portions, right? You want to keep it diagonal, so you keep it in the both vertical and horizontal in the right ratio. Okay, so look, I've created the chart, but if I want that chart to look presentable, then maybe I'll do a few things, right? For example, what are a couple of things that I can add? Right here I have chart titles, so let me go ahead and add my chart title here, and that's going to be regional sales. All right, and of course regional sales, I can further format that into nice shape style. Well, let's use that one, right? And of course, if I wanted more detailed information on how to arrange or color or put lines around each element of the chart, I can open that element up and do some more design on this. I can look at add the chart elements, like for example, if I say want to look at the titles, right? Both vertical or horizontal titles, right? Okay, so, or you can go and click on the plus sign and say, I want the titles for my chart. So I have that check mark, okay? So at this side of the chart is my vertical side, my y-axis, and it includes values. So I'm going to name that side sales amount, right? So let's go ahead and make that sales amount. Right, and again, to be consistent with my titles, I'm going to make sure that I put a format on it, a shape style type format. So I'm going to let's close that and open this up and put that in there. Okay, all right, did you get that? Simply go to the shape style and pick one from the gallery, right? So you can do that as well, right? Okay, so let's go back. Notice that the format legend also opens up, right? So that's because I clicked on the legend here, right? So whichever element that you click on, you can see that it has options on there. Things like how do you want to color it? The color patterns, fill it with solid colors, right, or different gradient colors, or you can play around with the border of it. That's the lines around it, right? And there are several ways you can do so, and you can click on each one of these and get an idea. Suppose I want the caps to be round. That means round edges here. Right, so I can pick round edges there. So that gives these round edges. And of course, if I pick the join type round edges, I'm going to get a round edge there. All right, and let's go to the x-axis. And this is going to be the regions, right? So just go ahead and click on it and type regions, and again, apply your chain to it. And these are movable, by the way. If I place my cursor on the element and it turns into that 4 arrow, that's a move tool, right? So you can see that I can drag and move things around that way. So that's simply, I place my cursor on it, wait for the tool to appear. Then I can then drag, right? Okay, so other things I can do to make my chart outstanding is to change the text, let's say the months. I could put a word style on there. I'm just going to click on that word style. And similar to the vertical where I have the values, I can do the same there, right? And this is a plain line chart. So it has the same characteristics. For example, it has a plot area, right? And as I click on it, the plot area appears here. So I can pick a color. By the way, gradient fill, like a two-tone type color, right? I give it 2 types of gradient so you can actually see that light beaming from there. All right, and similar to that, I could fill the chart areas. You know, the chart areas on the outside, right? By the way, you can click this down arrow and you can see the various areas. If you are not familiar or it's hard for you to click around the chart and find your areas, you can go straight to the format chart area and you can see the various chart area, including the data series. Where it says series, that's the data, right? Whenever you see series, it has to do with the data. So January, February, March is the January, February, March data, right? So let's go ahead and put a different color on the chart area. And that color, I'm going to make it a slight gray color, right? All right, and then I can move my chart down. So another good thing that you can do with your chart is put it on its own sheet. So I'm going to add a sheet here, and at sheet 1, I'm going to put it on its own sheet. So what can I do? I can simply go to my chart design, go to location, and click on that button, that command button, and then I can say object in. So here's the difference. If you're looking for what's the difference between new sheets and object in, well, a new sheet just puts it on the sheet as if it's one page. You have no control over adjusting or treating it like a picture, right? So the opposite can happen here in object. If I put it as an object in my sheet, then it will be able to be managed just like I put an object on my spreadsheet. All right, so that's what I'm going to pick, sheet 1, and I'm going to click on that, and that will put my chart on its own sheet. Right, and I could rename that sheet. I'm going to call it line chart. Right, and depending on how much involved you want to get in the design of your chart, you can you can continue to put different things on your chart. As I said, if you look at whether you want to put data on the chart itself or you want to put a table type, right? We know that we have trend lines already, what trend lines we want to use, right? But we're already showing trend lines or up and down bars. So you can still add these other elements and play with that. Okay, let's go back to our data. Note that if the data changes, if we should change your data, let's say we change this 10 to 12 in south, right? And I go to my line chart, guess what? My chart just updated, right? Just went to 12, see? We went from 10 to 12, okay? So once you create the chart, if you simply update data, the chart will automatically be adjusted to the data that you update. All right, let's pick another chart that would represent this same type of data. Let's go ahead and pick the area for the chart. You already know that it's A5 through D9, right? So you can select that. And we're going to go back to insert. And this time, instead of picking a line chart, I'm going to go ahead and pick a column chart. Now, in the column chart, again, I have an icon here that gives me an idea of what my chart is going to look like. So I have 2D, 3D, 2D bar, 3D bar. So I'm going to look for a 3D. This is a 3D clustered column. This is a 3D stack column, and it gives me a brief description of what it's doing. Compare parts to whole, show parts of a whole chart. In this case, it's comparing values across a few categories, right? Same thing, 3D, 100% stack. So be careful and read your screen tip, right? Use this chart type to compare across a few categories. And this is going to show me like a 3D chart. So I have a Z-axis. So let me go ahead and click on that. Now, right now, the way it looks is my January totals up front and so on, February, March total, right? So what if I want to rearrange that and put January totals in the front, right? I could go ahead and rearrange that as well, right? So let's go back to the current, my chart layout right now, and I could show you that currently by default, there's a few layouts here that you can choose from, right? Also, there's a few color schemes that you can pick as well to represent the data, right? There's different color type schemes here. And we did the quick layout already, which layout is best for your chart, right? We can pick different elements, right? We can even switch rows and columns in our chart if you want to switch the data so you can actually see the different orders. So in other words, instead of going east to south, we went January, February. See, we can show it where we going east, west, north, south data first, and then January, February, or we can put January, February up front and then go east, west, north, south. So this shows the same data in a different rearrangement, right? So you can select the data and then you can rearrange it. You're switching the columns and the rows here, right? So this is a pretty good tool, right? So if I wanted to put January or wanted to remove March from my data, I can do that by simply unchecking, right? I can simply uncheck, all right? Okay, so in order to make my chart look pretty decent, I'm going to do the same thing that I did with the 2D chart. I'm going to give it a title, and this is regional sales, right? And go ahead and type your title. And you can still give it a style. I can go into format and give it a shape style. I'll be consistent with the same shape style, so I'll pick that one. All right, similar here, this is still, on this side is still my y-axis or my vertical axis, right? And I can make this bigger, make my plot area smaller so I can put my labels in. Now, you can use the sizing handles as you see fit to expand or collapse the chart in the different areas. If you want to expand the chart area a little bit bigger than the plot area, you can do so. All right, and if you want to increase the plot area, you can also do that. All right, so I'm going to be putting my labels here. So let's go ahead and put the axis titles in. And we said this was sales amount. right? And we're going to treat it the same. So let's go back in and select the same style. And on this side, and you'll notice that there are 3 titles now instead of 2 because there's a 3D chart. And this is months. And I'm going to on that. And this side is going to be regions. Right? Press the enter button and select my style. Right? So that's what I'm doing. I just type my text, press the enter button, and select my shape style that I want. Okay, I want to do the same thing for my legend down here. I want it to look the same way, so I'm going to click on my legend, and I'm going to select the same style for it. Now, the other thing that you'll notice in the background, you see these major lines in the background. Well, these major lines pretty much align with the numbers. It gives me an idea of where the numbers fall with the data series. This is still my data. These are the numbers that represent this data here, right? So, for example, January East, right? Here's East, and this is January, and so that's 44,567. So this is the 44,567, right? And I can pick the data point if I want to, right? 44,567, see? Right, so how did I pick the data point? I double click to get one, or I can, if I do multiple clicks, like double click, right, see? I can pick all 3, and that means I can give it different colors. What if I want to give these gradient colors? I give it a combination of brown and right? Or if you want to give it a nicer green color with a gradient view from the center out, right? And that's true. You can do for what you do for that. You can do for each one of them. A matter of fact, each data series will allow you to. You can pick, right? And you can pick them one at a time, or you can pick them all together. See? You just click multiple times on that data series. Now, I also have the option of what shape do I want it to be in, right? What color, do I want it to be box shape, or do I want it to be a round cylinder? Right, so I can pick the round cylinder for that one, right? And then, what about this one, right? What kind of color do I want for that? That's the gray. I could pick a gradient color for that too, but this time, instead of using green, I'm going to pick the gray family, and I'm going to use a go from center, just like I did the other one, right? And again, you have choices. If you want to do shadow around it, glow, right? How do you want it to look like a 3D? Do you want to bevel the top, bevel the edges, right? Let's go back and let's pick that one in the back here. Right, and the back, let's see, just make sure I'm just picking the ones in the back, all the way in the back there. All right, so different color codes, gradient colors as well, but this time I'm going to use these colors. And I'm going to glow it from inside out, there. Right? And if I want to pick, if I want to make it cone-like, I could do that, or cylinder, I can make that cylinder type. So I skip one, make cylinder. Okay, so you see the choices that you have here, plus the grid lines, right? And the grid lines do mean a lot in terms of when you're estimating, because if I'm looking at just the chart and I'm not looking at the numbers, I should still be able to tell what my data series or my data points are, right? Or where they fall on the scale, right? So on the wall option, wall in the back, I'm going to, that's the back wall. Let's pick the back wall. And let's, how do we want it to look? Back wall. I don't like that color because I have it already in the back. So I'm going to pick a darker back color back there, a blue color that we hadn't picked. All right, so that's the back wall, right? And what other portions do we have? We have the back wall. What about the flooring? All right, we can make the flooring dark, a darker color, like a gray. All right, we have the depth titles already. We have the floor. We have the horizontal. All right, so if we want to change these labels, we can do that too. So let's go ahead and we'll pick the style. Let's go ahead and what do we want? What do we want here for shape? We can fill it, solid fill. And I want to use something that I can recognize, a lighter green, I guess, green. So we can still recognize the, right? And I'm going to add the word art to that as well. Right, so I can do this the same thing over here, just to be consistent. Solid green, and we're going to use the word art. All right, so we're just being consistent here, doing the same thing. Solid green, and the word art. Okay. Okay. So what are the areas of my chart, my plot area? Do I want that to be solid? All right, can I have a solid area? And then my chart area also, I want a different color so you can see how that's matching up. All right, and if I want to put this in like a 3D format, I could do that. These are borders. This is a width, round edges, right? And of course, I could, if it's a 3D format, I could put, I want beveled edges. I'm going to pick one that you can see, right away you can see the beveled edges that come around, right? So there are many different features that I can add to my chart here, but I would say be careful not to add too many features so that it looks really unprofessional, right? So you want to keep it professional. For example, here I have my my title, so I can put it outside the plot area, right? And again, I'm waiting for that tool to appear, and then that's the move tool, right? And I have the ability to stretch my chart and make it bigger if I want to. All right. All right. So if I made this beveled edge, what if I sync the if I way to sync this plot area? So instead of selecting both, I'm going to select the plot area. Plot area here. See if we can do the plot area by itself. The plot area. Okay, plot area. All right. So now, what qualities I want for it? I could. Let's see if I could find something that's reverse of the chart area, and maybe I'm looking at something that sinks in. Did that change much? Okay. Maybe if I increase the width and the height by 12 points, right? See how does that have an impact? All right, so we're looking to see if we have an impact, right? Because remember, we have the outside and inside at the same time. All right, so you can play around with the different shapes and lines and so on in your chart, right? And to really make it come alive, solid line here at the side. Let's pick a different color. Right, so you can see the color right around. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and move that chart to the next sheet. Right, so let's go ahead and go to the design, go to move my chart and pick sheet number 2, and I'm going to go ahead and put that chart on that new sheet, and I am also going to rename that sheet column chart. Right, and again, if you want to change the column colors, right, if you want to do the chart, put different colors here, tab colors, you can do that as well, right? Tab colors. Okay, all right, so the next thing that I want to do is to print my chart. If I go to File, Print, I can actually see my data as well as I can see my chart. If I change from print the current active sheet and say I want to print the entire, right? So now you notice 1 to 4, that means I probably went over, so now I have to make some adjustments. So what did I go over on? My third chart. So what do I need to do? I need to go back and ensure that all my charts fit on the line. Notice, right? So if I go to View, Page Break Preview, right? I can then adjust my spreadsheet as to having it on one sheet, right? And again, I want to ensure that my scale meets about 80 to 100%, right? So right now it's 89, so that's good. Similar to the other chart, let me go and click on my other chart here, and it's on one page, it's 100%. So now if I go to File, Print, and I say I want to print the entire book, I should see 3, so, right? So other things that you can do is change your chart to landscape, right? It's a different, if you say landscape, right? You can see that the chart is landscape. So you can change the chart to landscape, right? All right, and you can actually see that it changed to landscape. So I can adjust the margins, I can have it put into the center, right? And then it's ready to be printed, okay? All right, great job, guys. This is all about creating a chart. So you are getting more and more familiar in practice creating charts. We do have quite a bit more classes on charts, so keep working and practice your charts, okay? I'll see you in the next topic.